It was 2 a.m. I was surrounded by quantum physics textbooks that might as well been written in ancient hieroglyphics, spiraling into what could only be called an existential meltdown over something named quark confinement. I'd taken it upon myself to understand what that Heisenberg dude was trying to say and how supposedly everything around me was weirdly entangled, even though it would be miles apart physically. For 3 stubborn weeks, I had been trying to do this alone. Why? Because that's who I am. I'm the kind of person who insists on building Legos without looking at the instructions and ends up with a bookshelf that leans like it's auditioning for modern art. But quantum physics was winning. And then, in the middle of the disaster zone, my 9-year-old cousin wandered in. He looked at the mountain of notes around me, paused, and said, "Why are you studying invisible things that are always stuck together? Don't they get sad when people try to pull them apart?" I laughed, partly because it was absurd, and partly because this kiddo, who still believes chocolate milk comes from brown cows, had just explained quantum physics better than 3 textbooks and 17 YouTube videos combined. But he was right. Quarks never exist alone. They are the universe's ultimate extroverts. When you try to separate them, they don't just resist, they create new friends rather than face isolation. And something clicked. I had spent all this time learning about particles that embody connection while distancing myself from others, too proud to ask for help. That night, I learned not just about quantum physics, but about a mirror that my 9-year-old cousin had held up accidentally, showing me how even the smallest, most fundamental particles of the universe refuse to exist alone. So, why did I think I should? Quarks never appear alone. It's something called quark confinement. The harder you try and pull them apart, the stronger they pull back together. Almost like the universe itself is saying, "Nice try." But this very connection was decided long back. And that hit me because I'd spent years wearing independence like an armor. To me, asking for help was the same as admitting defeat. Relying on someone meant I wasn't smart enough, not capable enough. But here were quarks, literal subatomic particles, existing in pairs and triads as if existing alone was never even an option. Physics wasn't confusing. I was confusing myself, not because the equations and stuff was complicated, but because the lessons that they were trying to teach me was just something I'd spent years avoiding. That self sufficiency is beautiful, but incomplete. And yeah, here's the funny thing about realizing quarks aren't lonely: it doesn't magically fix the fact that I was. I've always lived in what I call as my hyper independent era. If something needed to be done, my brain went straight into figure it out, do not disturb anybody. And people praised me for it. They said, "You're so smart, you're so independent, that's amazing." But beneath it all, I wasn't strong. I was tired and confused trying to figure out why doing everything alone didn't feel like winning. Ironic, right? Then I stumbled into quantum entanglement. It's one of the most magical, misunderstood ideas in physics. Take two particles, send them to the opposite ends of the universe, and somehow, whatever happens to one instantly affects the other. Once the connection forms, it remains invisible but very real. This made me question my entire definition of connection. For me, connection always meant proximity. If I wasn't constantly talking to someone, then that relationship was fading. But quantum entanglement, that says the opposite. The real connection isn't measured in the number of texts, calls, or the time spent side by side. It's that invisible thing that lets people stay linked no matter how far and wide apart they drift. Then I got to know about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. The moment you observe a particle, you change it just by looking at it. Painfully relatable, isn't it? We all speak differently when we are being judged. We behave differently when we are being watched. We love differently when we're afraid of getting hurt. The simple act of being seen shifts something inside of us. And the major observation of quantum physics is that observation is unavoidable. You can't exist without being seen, and being seen will always change you. For years, I tried to be precise, like an equation. But we aren't equations, are we? But as we all know, knowing about something does not equal change to it. So the next time when I got stuck on a problem set, my brain first went straight into figure it out yourself, do not disturb anybody. But then this tiny quantum physics obsessed part of my brain whispered, even quarks wouldn't do this. So I sent a text message to a friend. Hey, can you help me think this through? Just one small ask. And he helped effortlessly, like it was normal. That moment, as tiny as it may seem to you, felt like a massive change to me. Because it showed me something I'd never really believed in. That asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of belonging. Everything in this world is built from smaller things coming together. Quarks bond to form protons, protons to form atoms, atoms to form molecules, and molecules bond to form everything. Literally nothing that exists alone. And yet, we live in a world that romanticizes independence like it's a superpower. We celebrate people who did it all on their own. Even though quarks and our lives show that nothing of good is ever built in isolation. All my changes in my life have happened because of somebody else. Someone who challenged me, taught me, understood me long before I understood myself. And maybe, the bravest thing any one of us can do is admit that we are not meant to do this alone. That's all we can do for now. We admit that we are not meant to do this alone. So if there's one thing you take away from quantum physics, let it be this. The next time you're struggling, awake at 2 a.m., trying to figure out life without disturbing anybody, just remember that the smallest particles in existence figured it out long before we did. They held on, they bonded, and they stayed together. Even quarks don't like being alone, and neither do we.